Welcome to another episode of La Ventanita, the Miami Herald Food podcast. I'm Carlos Frias, the Miami Herald Food editor, joined every week by, I'm going to get this right, Amy Reyes over there, pointing in the
Yep.
right direction.
You're pointing in the right direction. Stage right, right?
I don't
No,
know.
stage
Stop
left.
confusing me.
I'm sorry.
Like Pierre finally, I don't
He
know,
explained it to us.
for some reason it crystallized when he said it. I'm just going to point opposite to what I see. So
Yeah, point
I can,
opposite.
I can see you now.
Do what you think is wrong.
Exactly. And, and that's my whole career.
That's how I go through life.
Do what seems like the most wrong,
Yep.
and you're gonna have fun doing some weird stuff there. Seriously though, that is like the definition of my career. Like, sure, I'm covering sports. Maybe I'll just go write features. Maybe I'll just go be the food editor of the Miami Herald. That seems like a good career move.
Just try all this stuff.
Yeah, it makes it fun though.
It
Dude,
keeps it spicy.
Do you know what I have to do today?
Tell me.
I have to take my 15-year-old to get her driver's permit.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Her learner's permit. So that means I will have 3 teenage drivers.
Dude, your insurance is
No.
gonna be
My,
like,
my insurance already is like $500 a month.
dude, that low? Oh my God. How many cars do you have? Do you have just the one?
They are, knock on wood, they are very good drivers, and I am a very good driver. So
But wait, how many cars do you have on your plan?
I mean, they're at least she's up in college. There's 3 on my plan right now. 3.
Jesus Christ,
know.
Carlos, that's that low. I have to change
know.
plans then, because if I pay a mortgage to have 3 cars on my insurance plan with a teenage girl.
You know,
mortgage.
you could save a lot of money by switching to Geico.
Oh, that's who I have, and Geico is just like, yeah,
You're messing around.
No,
Try
I need to.
Progressive.
I'm gonna shop around because they're tripping.
Try Progressive.
But dude, we need to get into it. We need to get into it right at the top.
Do we have to the
Yes,
vegans?
we do. We have to get into it with the vegans.
All right. So I thought that Annie was not only very honest, Annie Meinhold from Fukia, when she said that the hardest diners that she had to please were the entitled vegans. I think that's the word that's the most poignant in that sentence is entitled, right? Because I think you could extrapolate that to any diner, like the worst like the ones that you hear people complaining about, the ones that give 1-star reviews, even though everything went fine, but like, their change
See,
came back in
listen,
ones instead of 5s.
when we interviewed her last week, I was asking her who the worst kind of diners were, expecting her to say something like New Yorkers,
Right.
basic soccer moms from Kendall, or like people who come in with babies, or people who don't tip well. But she unequivocally and without any pause was just like vegans.
Vegans.
And honestly, like, I know people like to hate on vegans. It's kind of a thing to do just because I think secretly we all feel kind of like they're probably right in certain degrees. Like, we know that to a certain extent, like what they're doing is probably the right thing to do. We feel bad because we don't do it. And so I think
there's an element of that,
no,
but there's
100%.
also, yeah.
The underlying reason why we make fun of vegans is because they're doing something that we probably should be doing, but just don't wanna. Like we should probably all eat more plants, and we should probably all eat more green stuff, and we should all probably eat less meat, but we don't wanna. Like that kind of is what it boils down to, and we don't want to hear you saying that you're doing it because it makes us feel bad.
I'm going to disagree with that because I think a lot of it comes from misplaced self-righteousness. Like, I think that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, well, there's plenty of people who are vegan. Joan Crystal's husband was vegan, who will never tell you that. He was just
well,
like,
that's
hey,
the
can
thing
you
I
run
was
some
going to say, because
recommend-
like I have never in person met a self-righteous vegan that said to me stuff that made me feel like, oh, you're trying to make me feel bad for not being on your level. You know what I'm saying? All my vegan friends are super low key about it. On the internet, though, I feel like that's where a lot of the vegan self-righteousness occurs. And so I don't know, just like in real life, I haven't met too many people who are like, Amy, you really should, like the only time I've ever had a vegan tell me that I need to change my lifestyle is when I say to them, milk messes up my stomach.
Right.
And they're like, well, stop drinking it,
Stop drinking. Yeah. But that's not like go change your entire lifestyle. It's like stop drinking milk.
Right.
And I very much am like, your body is an omnivorous vehicle. Like it's been designed over centuries, millennia to eat the way that it eats. And it's like if we were meant to eat just meat, we'd have big dog canines,
Right.
or
Right.
we'd have big flat teeth or to munch on plants and long digestive tract like gorillas. But we're not built like that. Like we're built to be omnivorous. And I agree. Like you should not be eating red meat. And I don't like the amount of red meat that comes into my house is like maybe we do hamburgers once a month. That might be the amount of red meat, like some fresh market burgers or something like that. But I think it's the whole like it's like the recently converted religious
Yeah.
you
The
found
extra gung ho.
you
Yeah.
found this new exciting thing, and it's like that you got it. It's like you can't rest. Like it's part of your now
Your identity,
guidance.
like who you are.
No, but your guidance to proselytize and to convert. And it's like I don't know. I
Well,
think
honestly, like I have to say, like I do see that I do see that the self-righteousness is there, but honestly, most people who I know who are vegans have done it because of some health related issue. Like it's usually
Right.
some kind of like digestive problem or some kind of like just ongoing autoimmune things that they think they can help through their diet. But anyway, I think what we should do is we should show the full clip
Right.
of her explaining the reason why she felt this way, because the truth of the matter is that she's face to face with diners every day, and she knows what it is that that people come in and ask for. And I think that
Yeah,
I
this is
also
what she sees. She's not making this up out of the clear blue.
yeah
This is
no
her experience as
this is her
10
experience.
years as a restaurateur.
All right, Pierre, put her full clip so we can see what Ani had to say about vegans last week.
Give me the profile of like the worst kind of diner to walk into a door in a
Vegans.
Yes. Somewhere Anthony Bourdain is clapping right now.
I don't even like have a question for that. Vegans, because
Wow.
vegans think that just because they're vegan, they deserve to have a space at the table.
Right. Like everywhere
Not
they
that-
go, where's your
Right.
vegan part of your menu?
Correct.
It's
It's not.
Houston's, where's your
Yeah. they're
Longhorn?
not-
Why?
Yeah. Like
Why
they're
does the
not.
Outback
They're not.
hate me?
They're not asking to be part of the table. They're not requesting something. They're just they feel entitled enough to demand their taste profile anywhere they go, whether or not it suits them, whether or not it fits them. And you know what? At the end of the day, at Fukia, we have tons of vegan options. We really do. We have tons of items that are modifiable to be veganized as well. But still, like, because we're not the conventional restaurant, we're not a 3-meal restaurant. We just do what we do because we feel like it. So the vegan dishes that we make are based on what we feel like making. If they don't suit your taste, do yourself a favor, call the restaurant, go online, send an email, and do your due diligence.
Yep.
I don't think that just because we don't have a veggie curry as an entree portion plate because you want to pay $15 for dinner is not reason enough to slap me in the face for not being a vegan restaurant.
Okay, so that she's
Let's break that down.
deconstruct it. She's had experiences with this problem,
Right.
And it seems kind of like I remember when I was watching that movie. What was it, Chef, where he got real pissy because people were trying to alter his menu.
Yeah.
I think it was somebody tried to do something to his menu, but I guess for a lot of chefs, a lot of chefs get mad in general when you try to modify their menu at all.
Right.
And so for her, she finds it annoying that people try to modify her menu in order to accommodate their dietary needs.
Yeah.
I've been to places where like out the gate, they're like, do you have any food allergies? Do you have any this or that? And that's them being like, okay, we want to make sure we don't poison you and kill you. But I think trying to turn their dishes from the dish that they prepare into a vegan dish, if it's not something that they can do, I guess that bothers her.
Yeah, and I also get this part of it where I've seen often where people say, that's a really closed-minded view. If you don't offer vegan, if you don't embrace, vegan diners, forget if your restaurant is built for that. you're missing out on a part of the market. And they set it up as if they're trying to be helpful to you, like, oh, you're missing out on this, and really they're being selfish, like, I know something that you don't, and it's like, and I just find that a little bit condescending. Like, I feel like
Well, I think
if I have a very specific dining like
right.
requirement, I'm gonna be on the front end. Like, if I know I'm going to dinner with someone who has a gluten intolerance, a buddy of mine is actually celiac, he can't have beer, or he'll like not die, but we'll have to rush him to the hospital.
His stomach will be a situation.
Right, but they make gluten-free beers and stuff like that. So, or like wheat beers or things like that. Like or not wheat beers, but stuff that is not that doesn't have gluten in it. And we'll go out of our way to try to find a place that does that. I don't expect to show up at a place and like, hey, they have a thing that's for my palate. So I don't know. I feel like that, and then going on Yelp and then hitting them with 1 star, like everything was great, or we ended up not eating here. But we gave it 1 star, but we ended up not eating here because they didn't have anything
Yeah.
on the menu. And it's like, you could have done that on the front end, and saved them that
Well,
1
we
star
posted
rating.
the little clip of her saying that on Reels, and we got a lot of feedback from the vegan community. And one of the comments that I thought was probably like the most the wisest was somebody tagged what's it called, the place we went yesterday, vegan Cuban
cuisine, right?
vegan Cuban cuisine. Somebody tagged her, and instead of writing some
Or
like
him, I don't know.
ragey, like angry response about how dopey it is to exclude vegan, she basically just said, "This is why I opened my own restaurant." Because she wanted to create a plight, I guess she wanted to create a space where vegans don't have to ask for accommodations. They can feel like they're being attended to in the way that that they deserve. And so I think that is a more positive attitude to have towards it, rather than the like tagging Tabitha Brown, like look at this vegan hater, like look
Right.
at how she doesn't want to give them a place at the table. And I don't think that she meant it I think she meant it out of frustration. Like, she's obviously had run-ins with vegans who were whatever it is she described. And you can't.
And there's things that, like, I frankly like to eat as vegetarian as possible, as little animal fat, especially saturated animal fat. I also like electric cars. Like, my partner has one. But like the loud extremism on all those things makes you want to hate it. Because like anything, like if you're into a religion and that kind of thing, but it's always the loud ones that ruin it for everybody.
Well, yeah, I think you just got to
like,
filter through that. You got to filter through that, because I think at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is everybody knows that you should eat more like vegans eat anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it's just healthier for you. We all know that.
Well, let's also be clear about what we're talking about, right? Like, you should be eating more plant material and not as much of it, as Michael Pollan used to say. Eat real food, mostly plants, not too much.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of vegan food that is not good for you. I don't.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's in the
I've had-
category. Amy, Oreos are vegan. You know what I mean?
Dude, I've had vegan cupcakes that send me derecho al baño. I'm
Yeah,
saying,
well,
like, that cannot be good. Like,
No.
straight to the bathroom.
because butter is like a nice. It's an ingredient that gives that has a certain flavor profile. So when you cut out butter, what are you going to use? You use like vegetable shortening, or
Yeah.
oil. And if like that food done right, especially those desserts, it can be just really heavy with oils. Like that.
Yeah.
That could be what it falls back on. So I definitely come down on the side of like.
Moderation,
Like eat everything in moderation, and there's some things that eat less or none of, or very infrequently, like Ben Franklin used to say that meat should be treated as a condiment. And
interesting.
yeah,
Well, that's why I try not to cook meat at my house. I like treat meat like a go out and do this type of activity, because there's so many people who can cook it so much better than me. Like, why would I waste my time and money? Steaks are expensive at Publix these days. So like, I'd rather just go pay somebody like who's a professional to do it the right way. And then I can have my beef.
yeah, I agree. Well, I will say I love making a steak at home. Like
Oh, well, you know how to
making
do it.
steak at
I'm just
home.
not good at it.
Well, you just got to get good at it, man. Follow directions.
Oh,
Follow
man.
directions.
No, man, I'll outsource that. Outsource it to the proper channel. Somebody else can make it for me and I'll eat it.
There's this guy. He's a really smart. He's like scientist slash food writer. Kenji Lopez Alt, and he has this great like if you go online, if you Google his name, Kenji, and reverse sear, like how to cook a steak with a reverse sear. It's like the most delicious way to cook a steak that I have ever made, like at home. I think it's fantastic. Where you where you basically bake the steak. You put it on a rack and you bake it at a very low temperature. It's almost like barbecue. You cook it very slowly over a certain period, and then you finish it in a hot pan with butter.
Oh,
And
see,
then
I do the opposite. I
Right.
sear it and then I
Right.
stick it in the oven.
It's kind of the same thing, but so reverse sear is like doing those exact steps, but opposite. So you cook it nice and close, so it's like perfect temperature. You put a probe in it. I got one of those little cheap probes that you put a probe into the steak, and then the little meter sits outside, and when it gets it to an internal temperature just below where you want it, you take it out, and then with
And then you pan
finishes,
fry it?
and then you pan sear with just butter, like in like a raging hot pan. Like it's best if it's one of those that doesn't have nonstick, because nonstick is bad if you heat it up over a certain temperature. It starts to release the nonstick, and then that steak is so like the outside has such a perfect caramelized crust, you know.
Well,
and the
see,
inside
now I
is
know
cooked perfectly.
where I can outsource my next steak. You can make me a sandwich, and you can make me a steak.
Oh, my sandwich! I'm so eager for my sandwich press, and I'm getting like those. It's funny because I listen to car podcasts, and there are guys like on those podcasts that have like classic cars, like antique cars, and they always have a guy that they work with, and the guy is always brilliant, does a great job, and is terrible about timing. Like almost like real artists, like in the sense that they do things on their own, on the lunar calendar of their own cycles,
Right.
And that's how I feel about my planchita. Like I know that when it comes back, it's going to be
It's
amazing.
going to be amazing.
But like a week will go by, I've not heard anything, and I
No,
know it's going to be great.
Your planchita is his little side gig. He does that in his free time.
I think so. But the thing is, they have a tiny shop, so they have to finish stuff and get it out, because literally there's no place to put things when they're done.
Oh, well, then they want to get rid of your dumb planchita.
You would think so. You would think so, and I want them to also, so that I can use it, and make some sandwiches.
Oh, speaking of dumb,
no
you
updates
need you need to discuss with the internet why it is that people are cooking their chicken with NyQuil.
Oh my God.
Dude.
Do you think that it was necessary that the FDA would have to put out a statement that says, "Don't cook your chicken in NyQuil"? Like, I never thought that those were like, that seems like words out of a random generator,
like a
right?
word generator.
A word
Yeah,
generator.
for sure.
But yeah, so apparently the TikTok trend was to. It's like one of the. There it is. It's
Ugh.
terrible, but it's gross. It's like one of those dare you to eat it type of things. Like it's kind of like the thing you did in middle school where everybody puts everything into a drink, and then like
and
there's
like
the one
salt
kid
and
at the
pepper and
table.
mustard and but
Yeah,
this is just pathologically
And
stupid.
the FDA had, and it's like the most measured comments I've heard from the FDA. Number one, they're like, "Don't do this," and I was like, "Here," and they say, "Here's why." Second, you put that in the pan, you don't even have to eat the ingredients. Like they cook,
Just
and you will breathe them.
the ingredients, inhaling them is dangerous
like
for
the
you.
acetaminophen and the stuff that clears up your whatever.
I don't
It's
know
cough
about
syrup.
this generation. I don't know about this generation, dude. I think that we just need to take their phones away.
I don't know. I mean, our generation did sniff glue, so
Yeah, that's true.
So,
we did all kinds of stuff. I think we were taking like horse tranquilizers and
in
stuff.
the royal
Yeah, in the royal we.
yeah. Everybody else managed to
Because
do something
listen,
stupid.
I was very PG when I was in college. I was very PG.
I don't even want to ask you about your college days.
No, you don't want to hear about them.
But I think like the fact that had to be said is a bad
Sad.
statement for society. As a matter of fact, TikTok made it so excuse me, so you couldn't even search those terms. Like no results would come up.
Yeah, I think it's probably time for them to police the stupidity that runs rampant.
I mean, good
Yeah.
for TikTok. Good for
Yeah,
TikTok. for,
finally, just get the dum-dums to stop making the dum-dums go viral.
Exactly. Like don't reward people for doing that kind of stupid thing. So yeah. I was gonna ask you. So where is the pizza poll? Where are we in the universe of the pizza poll?
In the world of the pizza poll, we are down to our final two.
Okay.
And
where are those?
In one corner, we have Mr. 01 Extraordinary Pizza.
Wow. Okay. Good
Yes.
job, internet.
Yeah, way to go,
I'm on board.
internet. And in the second place, we have Kendall's Finest Vice City Pizza.
Wow. Those are really the finalists?
Yes.
I'm
And people are
dumbstruck.
voting. People started to vote for real now. Like for real. Mr. 01 is ahead by a margin, but like if Vice City Pizza, like if they, have that final push, they could come in. So
Man,
I feel like
that's really surprising because I would say that those are two easily of the best pizzas that I've had in Miami. Are
see, the internet's not always wrong. I mean, the internet does tell us to put NyQuil, cooked chicken in NyQuil, but it also says that these two
NyQuil pizza?
legit, these two legit pizza places could be the best in Miami, and I endorse both of those places are great. And
I'm excited to hear that. I have renewed hope in how the internet in the internet.
Yeah,
in the
well,
beauty of the internet.
If Kendall wins, then I think that we should celebrate.
By getting some
Yes,
some Vice City pizza.
100%.
And think about how different those pizzas are, right? Like Mr. 01 is classic Neapolitan. So it's one of those things where that pizza is best when you go to the place. Neapolitan pizza, meaning they throw it in and they cook it, and the inside, like the very point, is like that guy from Barstool, whatever. He's like, it should have no flop. Well,
It's all flop.
these guys are all flop. Like that's how you eat that pizza, and it's really delicious. And then you have the Vice City pizza, which is a focaccia square pie. So it's almost like a pan. It's almost like a pan pizza.
Yeah, pretty
Like
much.
thick, crusty edges.
Yep.
Sourdough. So it's really puffy, about an inch and a half thick. Totally different. So you know what? I almost feel like those could be
Either one could
co-champions. Yeah,
Yes.
or they could be
Well,
co-champions.
The Neapolitan pizza, you have to eat it right away, don't you? Like you have to eat it there and right away. Like
Pretty
it's
much.
not a next day pizza, because listen, I'll tell you what I do with
Yeah.
Vice City Pizza. I got the pepperoni pizza.
Mhm.
I had it in my house for 3 days, and I was eating it for breakfast. Like I would fry an egg and put it on top.
Oh man, that sounds so good.
It was so good. Like the
That sounds
pepperoni
delicious.
specifically. Or you could get the tomato one, like the regular. I can't
Right.
remember. I don't remember the names of their pizzas, but like the one that's just like tomato sauce and like a little bit of basil. Oh my God. You just put a fried egg on it, and that is breakfast.
You know what I've seen too, and I've been dying to try it, is where they treat it almost like a Monte Cristo. Like they batter it. Like they'll put an egg wash on it. Like how you make French toast, like it goes through an egg wash and then you pan fry it. Like cold pizza in an egg wash, pan seared, and then it comes out like a.
What are
Doesn't
you
that sound
talking
amazing?
about? Who does that? Where?
It's like think about a French toast. So think about that same puffy, delicious square pizza that benefits from being hot. Now treated like a French toast.
Wow.
Right? That sounds good.
Well, who does that though?
I don't know, the internet.
You do it.
Somebody on the internet. I'm gonna try it.
All right, you do it and you invite me. Get a Vice City pizza and keep it for a day or two, and then try that. That sounds legit.
Yeah, I'm experimenting with all the things. The sourdough. I did another sourdough, but with no olives this time. I know. That
Oh,
you and Connie
good, because
disapprove of
olives, ew.
Yeah, no, I did it with I added a little rye flour this time. There was a recipe that was like, just try to break it up instead of bread flour, just bread flour. I put a little rye flour in there, and it's really good. It's really stinking good. And I think I might just have like a loaf of bread at my house just from now on, like that.
Yeah, I
It's
think
too
I'm
good.
just gonna go get some Vice City pizza and leave it in my fridge for the whole week. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, that's an easy way to put on an extra 5 pounds that you'll never get rid of.
Well,
Experience from this job is
Yep.
is the 10 pounds you carry around that it comes with the job. It's like, it comes with the title and 10 pounds.
well, you know why you gained so much weight this over the summer was because we ate at all the food halls. Dude,
Yes, we did.
yeah.
Poor Connie.
Poor Connie. So if you guys didn't notice, yesterday we dropped our food hall guide. Connie wanted to revisit the food halls of Miami since things have changed over the last couple of years. So she goes from the beginning. She starts in like 2015 when the first one started opening, and she talks about how La Centralia opened to big fanfare, and then
La Centrale. Like,
And
the thing that I never understood about that particular concept is that it was like a 3-story Italian food hall, fine, and at the other end of the mall was
Yes. Casa Tua.
Casa Tua Cucina, Casa Tua's food
Yeah.
hall. So there were like two food
Two
halls
food halls
in the same
competing
mall, both
with the same
Italian.
cuisine. Yeah, with the
It
same
made
cuisine.
it made no sense to anyone with sense.
Oh my God, but La Centrale was so beautiful, man. They had like
really
this
was.
this private room where they would have like wine tastings and cooking courses and stuff like that. And then they had like a room where you could have like a private dinner, and then you go downstairs and there's like, I mean, there's just like so many different stations. And then they had a rosé garden one summer, and
Yep.
it was just, it was really over the top amazing.
But you know what?
And
Those places are too expensive for you and me, and not exclusive enough for the people that can afford them.
right.
So
Well,
that's really
then
what it came down to, I think.
I also feel like Casa Tua, when it was a food hall in general,
Mhm.
was just more navigable or navigatable. Yeah, it was just
Yes.
it was easier to understand. And
For
so
sure.
like you don't need 3 floors of food. You just need like one space where I can be like, okay, this is where I get the salad, and this is where I get the beef, and this is where I get the pastries and stuff. And each is different vendors. I get that, but like La Centrale was overwhelming.
Yeah, this place was the most like, Casa Tua is the most to me like Italy or the Chelsea Market, where it's like one floor and everything is kind of buzzy and it has motion. It doesn't look like an empty space. It's actually kind of interestingly designed, and
Right.
the food is good, and
Yeah, and now it's
yeah.
just like a regular restaurant. It's not even
Yeah.
a food hall anymore.
Yeah, no.
Anyway,
it's-
so we
it's
got
all-
to go to the main ones. We revisited Timeout, which Connie had gone to when it first opened, and it almost killed her. She almost had death by food hall that day. I remember that she wrote me and she was like, "Amy, I don't think I ever want to eat again." So when we went back, we tried all of the
She hadn't figured out the one bite method.
the
taste,
bite
move
and then put
on.
it throw it
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
So when we went back, we got to try some of the new vendors because it's basically almost a whole new cast of characters at
really
Timeout
is.
now.
Yep. Like 33 Kitchen, I think, is the only holdover, like from the very first ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be the only spot that's that's been there from the beginning. But
I'm
they've
not
changed
sure.
a lot. They've changed their lot. So we went to like there's 12 that she went to.
No, she went to. I think she went to 6 or no
6.
7. Yeah, and so the one that we all kind of agreed was of the ones that we went with her. The one that we all liked the best was Shoma Bazaar, which is in
Yeah.
Doral, and
It has the most ambiance. Really,
Yeah.
when you talk about it, I think that the thing that stood out to me, I'm gonna say what I like. I like that it had the most ambiance, and I want to say like within a day of writing about it, like because I wrote a little bit about like before she came out with the guide about this particular spot. I was like, who is this for? And it's probably for folks who are coming from different parts of the county, meeting up in a space that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of a nice place to hang out, and it's interesting. And there's low chairs and high chairs, and there's, high tops, and there's some couches and
And then there's like a
beautiful bar.
Yeah, the bar is gorgeous.
And like within a day of that, like I was seeing on my story, like even some of my family had been, like my little cousin Gabriella was there. With like some of her 20-something friends and stuff like that.
Right.
And like that's a good sign, if like 20-somethings are hanging out there, then that's pretty cool. So I like that one, and I like the Citadel.
Yeah, the Citadel is kind of I feel like that place really knows what it's doing. It really does recruit good vendors. And I haven't had one bad vendor at the Citadel. Like I have had bad vendors at the other spots. There's
That's
one in
true.
Timeout Market that I don't even want to mention because it was just so bad. But
Yeah.
like but the Citadel, I've never had a bad meal at the Citadel at any of the vendors.
Yeah. The timeout, I think our favorite was the spin-off of the Lure, which L-U-R. I don't know how they pronounce it, Lure, which is a spin-off of the Basque place inside of the museum in Alapata, the Rubel Museum.
The Rebel Collection. Yeah, no, that place was legit. Everything we had from Lure was really good.
Very good. The croquetas were beautiful. They were creamy. It was like it came out of a restaurant. Like I
Yeah.
thought it was really nicely done.
And she had to go to three food halls on Miami Beach, and of the 3, what was it? It was Alton Food Hall, and then the Lincoln Eatery.
The Lincoln Eatery, right?
The Timeout Market still reigns supreme over those two, but I almost feel like Alton Food Hall is just like, it's not trying to be what it's not. It's not trying to be like a fancy pantsy destination. I feel like it's almost
A food court.
It's like a ghost kitchen with a eat-in spot.
Yeah.
'Cause-
And like I'm genuinely curious that Dumpling King has a spot there. Like I think that's cool. If you can't make it up to the northeast part of the county, that there's a Dumpling King there. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Amanda tried when we went. Amanda tried the dumplings, and she said they were good.
Okay.
And then that's the one that's got like the Popeyes chicken, and
Popeyes, right.
it's got like the Wingstop. But it's also, remember, that's the one that's owned by the guy. Oh,
The
you wrote
Uber,
about
the guy that got kicked out of Uber.
Yeah.
The guy that was kicked out as CEO of Uber is the guy that's quietly buying up real estate around the country and putting little kitchens in them, and then running them as ghost kitchens. Yeah.
So when you go into that one, like, you see the vendors that are available. Like, there's Popeye's Chicken is there, Wingstop is there, the Dumpling King is there. They have a little bar, and then they have a couple of other ones. They have a Middle Eastern food spot too. But then they
Tacos
also
and
have
tattoos, right? Didn't you like?
Oh yeah, they have is that where Tacos and Tattoos is?
No, that's at Alton Food Hall. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about. Alton.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that place, the tacos was the standout at that place.
Yeah, you
But
like
then when you go in, there's a wall that has a bunch of tablets, and they're like, if you don't want any of this food, you can order something else. So it's also like, they serve as a ghost kitchen for a bunch of different vendors too. So you could literally just order something on a tablet, and then they'll bring it to you like where you're sitting, because
Right.
they're also doing that stuff for like Uber and stuff like that. So.
Right.
I thought that I wouldn't go to Alton Food Hall unless I was like really dying for some Popeyes or some Tacos and Tattoos. Like,
You know what that actually makes me think is, like, there are so many independent restaurants near it that I would rather do something at, even if it was for lunch. Like Macchiolina just posted on their Instagram
Right.
that they're doing like a sandwich night. Like
Oh.
you make reservations and you go in there doing these really beautiful sandwiches. And Mike Parolo he's a James Beard nominated chef, and he's doing like a sandwich day, and
well, I mean, Bodega's like around the corner too. I like Bodega.
right,
That place is
Bodega
legit.
and Via Emilia 9 has been there. That's easily been there 5 or 6 years, and they do a really nice job too of like homemade pasta and things like that. And I don't know, I think for the money,
if you want Popeyes.
well, what you end up spending, exactly. If you want specifically Popeyes, they got you covered. But I feel like almost anything is going to cost you $25 now.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
go out to lunch, like especially on South Beach, almost anything is going to be $25. So like, where's
Yeah.
your $25 best spent?
Well, the only place that Connie like actually threw a little bit of shade was Lincoln Eatery. She was very like underwhelmed with Lincoln Eatery.
She didn't love
She
that.
tried. She said she tried, but it just like wasn't her. Like, if you had to go, if you had to go to Lincoln Eatery versus Timeout, she'd just go to Timeout.
Right. Yeah. She did not. She was never enamored with that
No,
spot.
wasn't a fan.
No.
But she tried.
But yeah, there. I also wanted to talk about, like, we were talking about vegans earlier at the top. So like specifically, you and I thought. I want to say it's Jenny Lorenzo and somebody else had mentioned that place, the Cuban vegan place, and we were like, let's go eat there.
Right.
So like, I think that like would like. People are gonna be, we've been tagged and we've been talked about that place, and I've even said it. I was like, I need to go check that place out. So you and I went, and we like kind of ordered a little bit of everything on their menu. And my summary was thus, and this is without doing a full review of it. It's going one time. It's kind of a takeaway spot. Like, they have a little outdoor area. You go in, and it's a little outdoor area. It's a little window. They're thinking about expanding into a full spot, is what one of the servers was telling us. And I think it's the kind of place that's perfect if you grew up eating Cuban food specifically, and then became vegan. This will remind you of the flavors of those things.
Right.
However, if you're looking for a Cuban restaurant, actual Cuban restaurant with the food that reminds you of the food that you're used to, you are not going to be happy at that place.
Yeah, you might just go to the place on the corner.
Yeah, it's in the same. It's at the corner of a strip mall that has a Latin America,
Yeah.
which I think
Okay.
is actually I think says a lot about Kendall
Yeah,
and
it
the
does.
magical kingdom of Kendall. You can have
Kendall is very sophisticated. Don't be hating.
yeah. Well, I mean, look, is the repository for all the Cubans, the next generation Cubans that were in Little Havana and then moved to Huachete and then moved to further out west to Kendall.
Oh, don't
So,
hate.
like-
Kendall's bringing him in now because we got that cheap rent. But no,
Cheap, right?
I know
by
cheap.
comparison.
Yeah, I think that I think that if you're vegan, there are certain things that you'll definitely like. Like I think that the bowl that I had, the picadillo bowl, it was picadillo, beans and rice, and some kind of a sauce. You know, it kind of reminds you of like one of those bowls you could get like at what do you call it, like chicken
Yeah,
chop.
it's like yeah,
Choppy chop.
exactly. Yeah, it's
You
like
know,
a
it's
chopper
one of
chop
those-
type of thing.
Yeah,
and
one of those
it's
kind
got
of bowls.
it's got the cilantro sauce. The meat that they use is it's either Beyond Meat or Impossible Meat. I can't remember, but it tastes like beef. So
Right.
like they season it in that way and eaten as a bowl. I think it works.
Yeah,
And-
that worked. I really like that actually. I could see myself eating that like on a day when my white girl stomach is acting up and I don't want to eat beef. Like and nothing like my white girl stomach was totally fine yesterday. I had no drama. Like
And-
after
and-
I
and-
ate
and
the
la
vegan
papa
food.
La papa rellena. They make a papa
Yeah, it was
rellena,
really
which is
good.
beautifully crispy. The mashed potato was perfect, and then they use that. I think it's Impossible Meat inside, which frankly, it's meat. It's just
Yeah.
lab grown versus cow grown, and I thought that was really good. Like, and we started with that. We're like, oh man, this is
Oh,
very
this
promising.
is good. Yeah.
But the rest was an artist rendition of.
Yeah. No, I think the croquetas,
They didn't-
croquetas with the
The
ones
consistency
that were
was fine.
yeah, the
ham
ones that were
croquetas-
meant to taste like ham, I thought
Right.
those were passable. I thought
Yeah.
those were good. Like I could see myself being a Cuban American person who really wants a croqueta, and if you eat that, it delivers the same kind of taste, and it's got the same flavor and
Yeah.
the same consistency. There's something about it that it's obviously kind of not the same, but I will say this: the one that they make with chickpeas was not my favorite.
Yeah, that ain't it. That is like it's like gofio, which was they talk about. It's almost like a matzo ball, like a little
It was
a
very.
little matzo roll. It was
It
was
wasn't
not
my
for me.
favorite.
It
Not
was
for
not
me,
for
no.
me.
And then the Cuban sandwich, they used jackfruit.
Artist rendition of a Cuban sandwich. Yeah, they use jackfruit. I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off. They
No, it's
use
okay.
They turn that into pulled pork. They use that as quote unquote pulled pork. They season it because jackfruit really, when you cook it,
It's like a
shreds.
mushroom, right?
And yeah, exactly. It doesn't. It tastes like whatever you season it with.
Right.
And it's got a little bit of a sweetness to it. But so like you take it and you close your eyes and some of the flavors are in there, and I think like if you're missing the flavors of Cuban sandwich, that'll get you close. But
Yeah,
it's-
the only thing I didn't like about the jackfruit was that I felt like the jackfruit kind of made the bread a little bit soggy. And that's one of those things that in my mouth, like soggy bread, I like grosses me out. So that was my only complaint about that. I like the fact that it had I like the pickles and the mustard, like pickles and mustard and like the kind of just the saltiness of the two different kinds of meat. I like that, but I don't like soggy bread.
yeah.
And they
that-
also had the option to not put mayonnaise on it,
right,
which
but
means
it
that
came with mayo.
it came
which
with
was
mayo,
vegan mayo, I assume.
veganese,
Veganese.
right?
So I don't know. I think specifically, I don't even say if you're Latin, but if you like Cuban food, if you grew up liking Cuban food, the flavors in Cuban food, but you haven't had it because you've decided to live a vegan lifestyle, and you go there,
No, I think they're doing
you will
it.
get- you will get
they're
close.
getting it. Yeah, they're
will get
getting
close.
they're getting the notes
yeah.
that you would want.
Otherwise, go
But
to
that
Latin
said,
America.
I don't know if it's for me. Like I would probably just go eat some regular picadillo unless I was having like a stomach day.
It's a no for me, dog. I'm gonna
Carlos is not ready to make any changes to his lifestyle.
not that one. That's not for me. So what else have we got? What else have we been kind of wrestling with this
Oh
week?
well, you got to talk about Cush's closing Vicky's.
Oh, right. Oh, before I go, somebody commented, Vanessa Budd, why jackfruit and mayo? Gross. And again, mayo, like I'm sure if Jeff Hauk is listening to this episode, he's just thrown his computer across the room at the mention of mayo inside of a Cuban sandwich. So you got to go
I'm
back
sure.
if you know who Jeff is, go back and listen to that episode. He was great. Oh, so Vicky's house is closing. So Vicky's is that just to remind everybody who's listening that so the guy who owns Locale, which is like it's like a burger and craft beer place. They do like not organic, but grass-fed beef burgers. It might be organic. I don't know. I don't want to say that it is or isn't, but I know that it's grass-fed beef burgers and craft beer at this place in Coconut Grove, open like this little speakeasy next door, which is in line what he does. He has like little bars where you can hang out while you're waiting for your table. Except that this one, you go through it. There's no sign out front. It looks like it's a space for rent if you're on the outside. And if you're on the inside, you go from Locale through a Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure phone booth, and then you're in a replica, a sort of time warp of his mom's 1980s kitchen. And they serve like old school, big over-the-top milkshakes. And they've done that for, Amy, they did it for 5 years.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
And then he decided that that he's going to stop doing it next month in a couple days. So he's going to, I think he always said that it was just like a little extra space. It's like not enough space to do a whole one-off restaurant. It's just kind of like this little extra flow over space. And I think he took it over. He said that he took over the space so that he had full access to the dumpster behind it. So he didn't have to share the dumpster. So now he's going to turn it into a wine and vermouth bar. I think he's like, for some reason, he's like in love with vermouth right now.
Interesting.
And he's into like Spanish wines and Spanish ciders, which is kind of what he was doing at Spillover, which is his fish spot over by the Mayfair, which we'll talk about. And so he's going to be doing that. So it's going to be called Victoria's Vinos y Vermouth or something like that. And so I think he's just having fun.
That sounds classy.
Yeah, Kush has a lot. He seems so like he's not having fun, but then you look outwardly at the restaurants and what he's doing, and he's having fun.
Oh yeah, he's totally having the best time ever.
He's having.
Yeah, he has a lot of real designer in him. So it just seems like that's half of the fun for him, I think.
Yeah. So I think that'll be it'll be interesting. I'm sure it'll be cool to look at and an interesting space. And I think since they stopped doing, remember they were doing the bar, or they had the restaurant Cafe Kush that was over in what's the
the hotel on Biscayne?
The Gold Rush?
Yes.
Yeah, the Gold Rush Hotel, I think is what it was called. And that turned into like one of these vintage retro hotels, and he had the little cafe there, but that didn't last very long. I think it lasted a little over a year. So they're moving kind of like that concept of like a hangout bar and drinks to that spot. So
nice.
So we'll see how it goes.
Did I ever tell you about the grossest conversation I overheard at Locale?
No, please tell me.
Oh man,
come on.
One time, so my kid goes to the school over in the Grove. So she was at a football game, and I tried to. My husband's Dominican, and he doesn't like American football. And I grew up watching American football, and I detest it. So I was trying to be into the high school football thing just because my daughter was trying to be into it. I think she's more into football players, but anyway, so we went to a football game. We lasted 15 minutes and we bounced. So we were like, okay, Emily, you stay here. We're going to go have dinner and we'll come back and get you. So we go to Locale and we get our table and we're seated next to a giant party of like 30 somethings. These people are straight up screaming. And this one girl goes into this whole story about how wasted she and like maybe 4 of the people at this table got at some party. And bro, she tells the story about how someone threw up in the punch bowl.
Oh, no.
Yes. And me and my husband and my son are like, we can't miss this story. Like I can never unhear this story.
Right.
Because after somebody threw up in the punch bowl, somebody came and drank out of it.
Oh, you just wanted to ask for your check right there.
I just wanted to bounce. I was like, let's go to Vicky's. Let's get the F out of here.
Yeah, can I go through that Bill and Ted's phone booth?
Transport myself
and go back to a time before I heard that story?
100%. I was like, please come and wipe my memory so I don't now everybody who listened to it has to know this story.
Now it's like that. It's like that. It's like The Ring where you play the VHS. Now everybody has to hear that.
Everybody.
Now
everybody
has to tell that story.
Evangelize the story of the nasty people at Locale talking about vomit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thanks for that.
Anyway, we can move on.
I have that image in my head now, and I don't think that I can. I don't think I'll ever be the same after that.
I've ruined you.
Thanks for that. Oh, I mentioned the Mayfair. Remember they so like I want to say it was a little over a month ago that they debuted that hotel. It went through something like a $50 million makeover. It's got a very specific name that they want used. We all know it as the Mayfair. It's still called the
It's
Mayfair.
like the Mayfair House.
Don't get it wrong, or you're gonna get an email. It's the
Okay.
Mayfair.
It's the Mayfair.
And but they hadn't really announced what they were going to do with food there, which is like a hotel restaurant, hotel bar. I'm not super interested in general. I don't know about you, but they got at least some interesting guys to do it, which is the Lost Boy guys, the guys who just did Fox's Lounge, and they did the restaurant, and they did the rooftop bar, and they tried to like make each one a little bit different. And we'll see, whether it's the guy, one of the Lost Boy guys is from Arizona, is from Tempe, and like the whole menu goes into how it's Sonoran Mexican cuisine, Sonoran cuisine.
That's very specific.
Very specific. So I like spent like having seen that, I spent a little bit of time trying to like read up on Sonoran cuisine, and then I looked at that menu and I was like, there's nothing Sonoran.
That doesn't look
on
super
here.
Sonoran.
Like not like there's fry bread. There's a version of fry bread that's on there, which is like imagine fried dough. It's like bread that's quickly fried and it puffs up. It's
I
kind of yeasty.
endorse. I endorse.
Oh,
Keep
it's
going.
delicious. Navajo, they call it Navajo bread. So fry
Okay.
bread is delicious, and you put different things in it, or you use it to almost like like Asian Indian style, used to like tear off pieces and grab meat, and you can eat it with your hands. It's delicious. But really, that was the only thing on the menu that was like even remotely sonora. But it doesn't mean it's bad. I hate branding like that, especially if you're not gonna 100% deliver on it. Like that. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Well, in
because
my
it's-
case, I don't know enough about Sonoran cuisine to point at it and be like,
that's what they're hoping for.
yeah, that's probably
I-
the goal.
I had braised lamb. It was Sonoran. No, that's not what they do. It's actually food that's like doing a little homework on it. It's food that's created in a very arid place. So lots of like long stewed meat. Like carne asada, like the idea of carne asada, tacos, and that's really Sonoran more than anything else. Like that, and eating cactus, like nopal, in different ways. So they do have like nopal fries, like cactus fries, on the menu, and I'm like, all right, that's two things. But like, there's no carne asada, and it's like if you were Sonoran and you're reading that, like if you're
You'd
raised
be like,
in
where's
that
the
part,
carne asada?
yeah, you'd be like, that's a key missing ingredient. Again, doesn't mean that the food's gonna be bad, but it's at all, because I think those guys can do a good job. I don't know, it just bugs me. Like what's slightly off, that can sound interesting or curious, and then like brand it with that. Like Miamians, they'll never know the difference.
They won't
You
know
what
the
I mean?
difference. Well, the one thing they do have is they got a rooftop bar, so Miami loves that.
Oh yeah,
Can't
that
go
will
wrong
get-
with a rooftop bar.
That will get packed. I mean, if there's enough of a breeze, it'll be nice at night. I don't know. Oh, and it's like a pool bar. So, like, I think it's like if you're a hotel guest, I think that's the place to be.
Yeah, for
Swimming
sure.
around, splashing around the pool, and
Sounds
that's
like a winner.
and the theme is like Bahamian, which is a little bit of which they said is a nod to like the Bahamian background
Community of
Coconut
the
Grove.
Grove. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm sure that it's.
I think I would go there. That's probably where
Yeah.
I would go. I'll go
Yeah.
to that spot.
I'm much more interested in that, even though it's like it's what you'd expect,
A bar.
Conforters, the food is very like bar food, with kind of a Bahamian look to it. Although there's plenty of like just pan Caribbean stuff on that part of the menu. But we'll see. I mean, like the Mayfair is one of those kind of interesting old hotels. Have you ever been there?
I had gone like when I, in the first 5 years that I moved to Miami when it was like something different, like when it was the Mayfair.
Yeah.
So I do remember it. But I'm curious to see what it looks like now.
Yeah, I feel like even when I went before they'd started the renovation, there was like scaffolding everywhere. Like it was always pieces were being held because it's like I want to say parts of the outside is like limestone or like lime rock. It's kind of, and then the inside it's all built around an interior courtyard. So it's got like that old 70s vibe with plants growing on the inside. So I think that they kept that character of it, but they just kind of, really freshened it up. So
That's
I'm
cool. I can't
curious
wait to
to
go.
see what it's
I
like.
actually remember going 1 year for a Miami spice dinner. They used to have
Oh,
a
that's
really
interesting.
nice, a really fancy restaurant inside of it. But we're talking, it's got to be at least 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a really
well,
nice restaurant.
well, I mean, if I think that they, if the service is good and the food is good, no matter what they call it, then that'll be a nice space for that hotel, because it looks like they did a really nice job with it.
Nice.
So, what else do we have going on? Is there anything else that we haven't hit this week?
No, I think we checked all the boxes.
All right. Well, I think we'll have a guest next week, but I think it was fun to just kind of recap what we really felt about.
Well,
that
yeah,
whole
I didn't
vegan
want to invite
conversation.
somebody on the show and then we'd start bantering about vegans for a half an hour. I would have felt really bad.
Yeah,
I really wanted to talk about that for a while.
I felt like that deserved a little bit of space, and
Yeah, I have to
that-
apologize to my friend Marilyn. She was mad at me. She's like, "Why'd you laugh so hard?"
because it's kind
Like,
of
because it
funny.
was funny.
Because it's funny, because when you recognize something that exists that is actually true in the world.
No,
As
I
they
was
say, it's
laughing at
funny
how
because it's
fast
true.
she answered. I was laughing at how fast she answered. Not necessarily. I don't have any animosity towards vegans. I just thought it was funny that she was like, "Vegans!" like
Yeah.
out the gate.
She's just been waiting to be asked that question. She's been waiting her whole
100%.
life.
It was on the tip of her tongue.
Yep. Yeah. Well, Amy, that feels like a show.
Feels like a show.
Nice job today, even though you got a little bit of a cold going there. I think I got something going too. I think everybody's got
Yeah,
something.
I think everybody's got the malaise.
Yeah. Well, go get that looked at, and we'll try to get next week with the guest and see how that goes.
All right.
Deuces.